Hello there and a very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. I'm Lohara Tata for News First, and let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
A chance encounter in Kandy. Major landslide in New Waligama on the Bogowantalawa-Muskelia main road. The violent business of coordinating development. Three-wheeler fares on the rise from today. Disappearance of a journalist within the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul threatens diplomatic ties.
Starting off with some sports news, Parami Vasanthi Maristella Fernando of Sri Lanka Athletics won the bronze medal at the Youth Olympic Games held in Buenos Aires, Argentina today. She is the first female youth athlete to win a medal at this level. She won this bronze recording a time of 6 minutes and 33.06 seconds at the 2,000-meter steeplechase event. This is Parami's personal best as well. Parami also took part in the 4-kilometer cross-country event and secured the 17th place. Athletes taking part at the Youth Olympic Games have to compete at 2 stages, and the medals are awarded based on the overall results. Her overall performance at the 2,000-meter steeplechase event and her performance today has been taken into account for her bronze medal. After Susantika Jayasinghe's bronze medal at the 2007 World Championships, this is the highest prestige an athlete has brought to the country. We commence our news broadcast this evening with an analysis of the country's political situation offered by Pubudu Jayagora of the Frontline Socialist Party.
The
problem now is that there is a power struggle going on between them. They are jousting on stages, they become friends again, and then they become angry again. It is pointless for the gallery to look at them. Instead, they should be looking at what is happening to us. What is happening to the gallery is very clear when you look at the appropriations bill. When we see the budget, it will become clearer. Legislation that will be introduced in the future will make this picture even clearer. When the fuel prices increase on the 10th of November, it will be still clearer. In order to ensure that we are blind to this, they are acting out various sword fights and dramas with various colored lights. It's like a love story. In the past, Maithripala and Ranil were in love. Then the villain was Mahinda Rajapaksa. Now Mahinda and Maithripala are courting each other, and Ranil Wickremesinghe is crying out in unhappiness. It is pointless to keep watching the drama. No matter what they show you on this drama next, look instead at what is being done to the gallery. The audience is aware of what is happening to them. Therefore, we propose, rather than wonder about what will happen next, which government will form or not form, whether a caretaker government will come in, whether Ranil and Maitri will fall out, whether Mahinda and Maitri will be friendly, whether Gota will come or whether Basil will come, the people need to think about what will happen to them.
President Maithripala Sirisena and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa both attended a religious ceremony in Kandy today. The monthly rise in petrol and diesel prices following the introduction of a pricing formula continues to draw the ire of the general public. Today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe sought to explain the pricing formula, which had confused his own finance minister.
Good evening. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister has to say about the fuel pricing formula.
Oil prices, be it the price of diesel, petrol or kerosene, it changes every day. There was a system to change this through a pricing formula.
Our media calls it the price formula. Certain countries have tried it on a weekly basis, but since we weren't used to it, we opted to do it every month and then to move on to the weekly basis after obtaining the technology needed. That is how it was. Some do it on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis, while some do it on a daily basis. This is a very simple method. The price formula is not a complicated one. The operational cost gets added to the cost incurred when unloading oil. The operational cost includes the costs at the jetty and the pipeline, the cost of the oil that evaporates, transportation, sales, administration, storage, and the cost of dealers. This is the price it is sold at. The cost of the dealers is also added to the operational costs. At the same time, they must bear the customs duty, tariffs, and other fees. There are some who say now that the formula is wrong. They say the price will reduce if the formula is changed. I do not know about the formula.
Now, recently, Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira, speaking to journalists in Colombo, said he's clueless about this fuel pricing formula. Now, he even said that if he goes to give an introduction or describe this fuel price formula, the journalists themselves will go nuts.
Well, you know, Zulfik, I need to just make a point here. The Finance Minister of Sri Lanka is a former fashion designer. If he is confused with the pricing formula, well, you know, I can expect that and understand that. But who on earth is Mangala Samaravira to tell us, journalists, that we won't understand the pricing formula? That's a bit presumptuous of the Finance Minister. And in any other country in the world, it would be completely unacceptable and the Finance Minister would be removed long before he reached his offices.
Now, for us, why do we need this fuel price formula? Why? What's the reason?
Well, it's obviously because the CPC, the central place where we get all our fuel from, are suffering huge losses. At a recent count, it was over 13 billion, billion with a B. That was the amount of the losses. So clearly, they needed some form of formula to stabilize it because the world prices as well were going up and so on. However, if we look at why the CPC are making such losses, it's clear that state-owned enterprises have failed to make payments. These include institutions like the Ceylon Electricity Board and, of course, that other culprit, Sri Lankan Airlines. They've hardly ever paid their bills.
So that means for us, Sri Lankan Airlines. Now, Sri Lankan Airlines has a very, very rich history, but then as of late, it has a very dark history.
Indeed, and a dark history replete with billions of rupees worth of losses. I believe it was well over 28 billion was the estimated losses of Sri Lankan Airlines. And some of it, obviously, was due to the CPC for unpaid fuel bills. Now, if we look at the CEB, it's the same scenario. They haven't paid. But when they enter into agreements with private power suppliers, astoundingly and significantly, as we now realize, their contracts to purchase power from, for example, Ace Power in Embili-Pitya was denominated in dollars. This is absolutely unacceptable because at the end of the day, Zulfik, as you know, with the decline, the depreciation of the rupee against the dollar, in rupee terms, this has cost us much more than an arm and a leg. And these are supposedly run by professionals appointed by this government of good governance.
Now, for us, by what you say, I gather that there's a huge departure from due process as well as with regard to Sri Lankan Airlines, where the main allegation was against Captain Suren Ratwatta, the former CEO, and then when it comes to the CEB, there's allegations against Dr. Suren Batagoda.
Now, let's talk about Sri Lankan Airlines. Who is Suren Ratwatta? Suren Ratwatta, Zulfik, is the brother of Charita Ratwatta. And who is Charita Ratwatta? None other than a UNP stalwart and an advisor to the Prime Minister. Now, is this a new form of nepotism? And like you say, the CEB, there it is, Dr. Suren Batagoda is right there. And if you remember rightly, there has been a whole lot of controversy surrounding that person. And he's the Secretary of the Ministry.
For us, speaking of due process and all these appointees, seems like the systems have changed, and systems were changed when it came to the bond scam as well.
Absolutely. Once again, a significant departure of due process right from the beginning of this government. From the appointment of Arjuna Mahendran, personally nominated and recommended by Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Prime Minister, who only had 40 seats at the time. Right? Now, he is the one who appointed Arjuna Mahendran, a departure from due process, because there was consternation about his appointment. Partly, Ranawaka said that, Dr. Rajitha Senaratne said that, and also the newly elected President Maithripala Sirisena said that. But the Prime Minister ignored them all, reassured them all, and he appointed Arjuna Mahendran. And this is the greatest financial scam ever to afflict this country. And remember, Zulfik, remember one other thing, that it was Arjuna Mahendran who said that the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, is the person who changed the system of awarding bonds. The Prime Minister on the 17th of March in Parliament admitted as much, and so did Arjuna Mahendran, who later confirmed to COPE that he had only acted on the instructions of the Prime Minister. Change of process. That is what happened here.
So for us, seems like the Prime Minister's system is to change systems. Now for us, we also have a decline in revenue. Now who is responsible to bring in revenue to the country?
None other than the Minister of International Trade, the specialist, or so we are led to believe, Malik Samaravikrama. He is responsible. And where is the FDI that he promised? When we ask him, they point out to the Hambantota port. The Hambantota port was not FDI. It was a debt swap. We gave our assets to settle a loan. That was it. There's no FDI.
So it appears that once everything was messed up, perhaps, the government had to call its way to the IMF, and now the IMF told to introduce a fuel price formula, and
That's
they
right.
are likely to call on for another regulation, which is for electricity as well.
The very fact that we've had to rely on the IMF is proof positive that this country's economy has been utterly mismanaged by this government, led by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
So it appears that the economy in the country is suffering a landslide, just as what took place today as well.
Very unfortunately, the landslides are happening just like our economy.
A landslide occurred this morning in the New Valigama area along the main road to Bagamantalava, Balangoda and Muskelia.
Our correspondent stated that the landslide occurred at around 11:30 this morning. Approximately 100 feet of land and 4 houses were destroyed during the landslide. Meanwhile, 23 individuals have been evacuated to safer grounds. The main road to Hatton has sunk by nearly 10 feet and has caused disruption to the transportation in the area. Residents have been compelled to use alternative by-roads. Meanwhile, Director of the Landslide Research and Risk Management Division of the National Building Research Organization, Dr. Gamini Jayatissa, expressed the following views.
The landslide that occurred this morning is of 30 meters wide and nearly 100 meters in length. Damage has only been caused to houses and the road. An in-depth analysis of the renovation of this roadway is required. Landslides are developing towards the higher end of the mountain.
Meanwhile, media spokesperson of the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, Sulakshana Jayawardena, said that the landslide has not caused any impact on the Kasarlu reservoir.
Several three-wheel societies have taken steps to increase three-wheel fares from today onwards in line with the fuel price change.
The fuel prices have gone up on 5 occasions in the last 6 months. The fuel price has gone up according to a formula that is unbeknownst to all of us. The previous price, which was 118 rupees, has now gone up to 155 rupees. We have not increased our fares for this price increase of 33 rupees. We have already increased the fare for the second kilometer by 10 rupees in the western province and in the southern province. Also, we have already increased the first kilometer fare by 60 rupees and 80 rupees in other provinces. If the general public is inconvenienced by us, the authorities should be held responsible. Clearly, we are not trying to increase the fares, because if petrol is at 160 rupees, the next time when the price goes up, we are hoping to have a price revision. For that, we will have discussions with the minister through the Ministry of Transport. Everything is expensive now. We are the people who are suffering. According to the National Council on Road Safety, the registered amount of three-wheelers in the country is 1,150,000. From that, 850,000 three-wheelers operate currently, and 550,000 three-wheelers from that are transport passengers. What is the program the Ministry of Transportation have to implement to regulate the island-wide three-wheeler industry? There is no fixed regulation to implement such a program. The National Council on Road Safety temporarily works on that. The Ministry of Transport has taken steps to initiate a separate unit to regulate three-wheelers.
Speaking at the launch of the Kandy District Balamandalaya of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa had this to say.
We must prepare for the next election. It may be for the provincial councils or it may be a presidential election. We need to secure that election as soon as possible. They are trying to lie, sling mud at the last minute and throw candidates in jail. The Justice Minister is saying they will take from the Rajapakshas and that no one will be able to contest. We need to ask whether the cases being heard through the special high courts are the only cases filed through the rogue institution that is the FCID and the Attorney General. But they too need to be cautious because these laws may be turned against them in the future.
Speaking at a meeting of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in Kandy today, MP Lohara Tata expressed the following views.
We will return to power again in the near future. There is no doubt about it. But there are those who have come recently who are trying to be leaders. Forgive me, for I say this with much difficulty. These worms are going around the country saying various stories. We have been patient thus far, but we cannot be patient any longer. There is only one leader for us, and he is Mahinda Rajapaksa. So we say to them, stop swallowing tails and going marketing for these people. If you continue to do so, we have an alternative course of action too. Just as you have some power in this country, we have some power too. You know whom I am speaking of. I do not know whether it is Welgamer or anyone else. It does not matter to us. We have only one leader and we will only work for the candidate he presents to us.
The central bank announced several measures have been initiated and some have already been implemented to strengthen transparency and accountability in several areas of operations of the central bank in line with the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry.
It states amendments are being formulated with respect to the Monetary Law Act and the Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance. CBSL goes on to state operations relating to issuance of government securities were strengthened by introducing a new auction system for treasury bonds. The fund management function of the Employees Provident Fund was strengthened by a new robust investment policy statement, an investment and trading guideline, and an updated operational manual, which are now in place with enhanced internal controls to mitigate risks and improve transparency and accountability.
It's taken the central bank 9 months to make this statement. To make this statement about their problem with what happened with the bond. Well, you know, we're happy about that. But let's look at what happened. The rogue governor, Arjuna Mahendran, is not there. It's taken the forensic audit has taken 9 months to start, and it's just about started now. But not a single officer of the central bank who must have had intimate knowledge, especially when it came to the EPF, not one person has been held responsible, nor does it appear that there are steps being taken to take action and hold somebody, anybody, everybody responsible at the central bank. There can possibly be no moral right for the central bank to conduct the investigation into the bond scam unless it was accompanied by an independent other investigation carried out preferably by the Auditor General of Sri Lanka. The EPF was listed under the central bank, and yet there has been no accountable process. Instead of looking at what happened to the 8,500 plus million rupees that was lost during the bond scam, the government is now proposing, and they are putting into place, that EPF funds be used to enter the stock market yet again. Does this mean that we will see the return of the barbarians to the stock exchange? More to come during the week.
Opposition against the curbing of participation in Area Development Committee by the government was met with opposition at today's meeting.
Arrangements were made to have the Habaradua Area Coordination meeting at the Area Secretariat today. Officers of the Habaradua, Imuduwa, Yakkalamulla and Ahangama police post arrived in the area to provide security. Proceedings began at about 9:30 this morning with the participation of Joint Chairman Thisar Gunasinghe of the SLFP and Tharaka Nanayakkara of the UNP. Members of the Podujana Peramuna arrived at the occasion protesting that members of the Pradesha Sabha were not permitted to take part in the event. While the Ministry of Internal Affairs issued a circular recently limiting the participation of Pradesh Sabha members in the area coordination meetings, the move to do so has been met with much resistance. The meeting commenced around half an hour later than the scheduled time after the protesters were removed from the premises.
When our rights are hindered, we have to struggle. We are not asking this because we want to sit inside. The people appointed us to speak on behalf of our electorate.
There was an argument at the Ambalipitia Division Development Committee meeting as well. The Ambalipitia Pradesh Sabha members of the JVP and the SLPP arrived at the location and held a protest. The meeting took place under the auspices of the Ambalipitia Divisional Secretariat. There was opposition that the local government members are not allowed to attend the development committee meetings. The protesters then protested outside the auditorium.
We need public representatives to discuss the problems. We ask the government not to engage in low-grade activities. Do not slash the rights of the people in this manner. As a member who have been at local government level, I believe that this opportunity should be granted. I will take the steps to inform the Minister about this as well at the Parliament and to ensure the right of the people to discuss their problems with this committee.
A new building complex in the Sindha Trimata Primary School in Kalpitia, which was built under the Gammadda 1000 Projects initiative, was vested with the students today. This was the state of the Sindha Trimata Primary School in Kalpitia. Students of this school who lacked basic facilities studied under buildings that were sheltered with coconut leaves. The students and parents of the Gammadda teams met while touring the area, voiced their requirements. The Lanka Foundation, together with the Gammadda 1000 Projects initiative, commenced the construction activities of the building complex on the 22nd of January. The Lanka Foundation of the Gammadda 1000 Projects initiative organized a musical show named Mia Sitota to raise funds for this project. Within a short time span of 9 months, Lanka Foundation and the Gammadda 1000 Projects initiative was successful in making the dreams of these innocent children a reality. A building that comprises of 6 classrooms and a head office as well as a playground was vested with the students today. Divisional Director of Education Deepthi Fernando, state officials and area residents attended the event. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry into irregularities that allegedly took place at Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka convened yet again today. The Commission today looked into irregularities in transactions between Mihin Lanka and Lanka Putra Bank.
Testifying before the Commission, the General Manager of the Lanka Putra Development Bank stated a number of facilities were obtained by the airline to support its activities. The witness, who at the time of these activities had served as Assistant General Manager, stated that a sum of Rs 300 million had been requested by the airline as temporary financing. This sum, which was presented upon the request of the Presidential Secretariat, came as investment on which bank bought shares in the airline as opposed to merely providing short-term finance. This request for financing, however, came from a company in the form of Mihin Air Private Limited, whereas the airline was formally registered as Mihin Lanka Private Limited, and the funds were released disregarding this fact. With further monies being obtained in the form of loans and other bank facilities, the total monies owed to the Lanka Putra Bank rose to a sum of 505 million rupees as of the 10th of January 2008. In addition to this, the sum of Rs 160 million was released to the airline from the bank upon a request by then Secretary to the President, Lalit Veeratunga. The witness testified that come the end of the period in question, Mihin Lanka owed a whopping 682 million rupees to the bank. The witness then revealed that neither Mihin Lanka or the Ministry of Civil Aviation paid back the money they owed. Instead, the government, through the central bank, had used funds from the General Treasury to pay off these debts. These repayments were also not in cash, however, but rather in the form of loan certificates that were set to mature in 2011. The witness further stated that the bank functioned in ways that it usually wouldn't in the carrying out of its activities. The Commission will reconvene tomorrow. It has been revealed before the Commission that the National Savings Bank and the People's Bank have both invested sums of 1.02 billion rupees into the airline, while the Employees Provident Fund invested a sum of 500 million rupees. The Commission has also brought to light the name of Dr. Suren Batagoda, who has been involved in a number of scandals, including the energy scandal where he purchased power for US dollars.
There is a Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy, Mr. Suren Batagoda, who has been involved in many a corruption in all government high-profile tenders. There was a power purchase agreement, and he sanctioned the payment for those people who supply the power in US dollars when there is no provision in any standing order to do that. Now, he did it because he was getting benefited directly by this said sanction. Then thereafter, he completely wrote off a loan which was given to Mihin Lanka, and there was no reasons given for it. So he has been acting as if this is his grandfather's or grandmother's property. Sri Lankan taxpayers' money has been squandered. As the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy, during the last 2 years, he got involved in one of the biggest coal scam of country. We are paying $15 more than the world price for coal, 2.2 million tons of coal. Now, all this was brought to light. The Supreme Court has clearly, in its judgment, said that Batagoda has misled the cabinet. Having had all these findings of the Supreme Court, this government still keeps Batagoda as the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy. Now, if these rogues are not taken to task and put behind bars, they will also leave this country like Arjuna Mahendran, and the Sri Lankan government will never be able to catch them thereafter. So it is time that this government act and brings all these people to book.
International perspective. The United States fired the first shot at the trade war by imposing a 25% additional tariff rate on imports from China worth $200 billion, bringing the total to $250 billion of tariffs, about one half of total Chinese goods imported to the United States. China retaliated, doing the same with the same magnitude. It too imposed 25% additional tariff affecting its imports from the United States. The imports that are subject to new tariff rates will be expensive to both countries, affecting their users, the consumers and the producers. In the United States, the new tariff affecting Chinese goods, together with the domestic interest rate hike, will contain aggregate spending, but at higher cost. The higher cost will be paid by the users of Chinese imports. The rest of the world will also have to feel the pinch of the trade war through higher prices and a contraction in world trade. Here at home, many products are imported from China, and this has an impact on the country's balance of payments. The World Bank figures reflect Sri Lanka's exports to South Asia at 11% of its global exports. Sri Lanka's top 3 export partners in South Asia are India, Maldives and Bangladesh. Sri Lanka's exports to South Asia equals $1.2 billion. Increased regional trade can accelerate Sri Lanka's growth and bring shared economic benefits. The World Bank suggests that Sri Lanka's potential exports to South Asia amounts to $2.8 billion, and currently we are $1.6 billion below that potential. Wouldn't it be prudent for Sri Lanka to concentrate on a significant export-based drive?
In sports news, Minister of Sports Faisal Mustafa said a thorough investigation will be conducted to the allegations levelled against Charit Kapukotwa, who won medals in 3 events at the National Sports Festival.
Charit Kapukotwa, representing the Northwestern Province, clinched gold medals in the hammer throw, discus throw and shot put events at the 44th National Sports Festival yesterday. Following the event, Charit Kapukotwa addressed the media in tears, speaking about the allegations levelled against him.
objection එක දාලා තියෙන provinces දෙක මේ strike කරනවා card ඇවිල්ලා වගේ ඇති සල්ලිමේද ගොඩක් මාන්සි වෙලා මේක හරියට බලපානවා.
Addressing a media briefing at the Sri Lanka Cricket today, Minister of Sports Faisal Mustafa expressed the following views. I think there has been a problem. First, the Director of Sports and other relevant authorities have granted approval to participate in the games. Later, they have made certain decisions. I told that we will conduct a thorough investigation into this incident. Charit Kapukotwa said the Minister of Sports had asked him to meet the minister tomorrow. We appreciate the swift response made by the subject minister following our news report yesterday.
We leave you tonight with the statement made by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa in Kandy today. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dasniya Thada. Good night.
We must prepare for the next election. It may be for the provincial councils or it may be a presidential election. We need to secure that election as soon as possible. They are trying to lie, sling mud at the last minute and throw candidates in jail. The Justice Minister is saying they will take from the Rajapaksas and that no one will be able to contest. We need to ask whether the cases being heard through the special high courts are the only cases filed through the rogue institution that is the FCID and the Attorney General. But they too need to be cautious because these laws may be turned against them in the future.